Good evening, everyone. In the last session, we completed our programs related to methods. Are you able to practice the methods? Easy or difficult? Difficult. Methods are easy or difficult? Easy. Yes. Can you tell me in the OOPS as of now what we have discussed? We discussed about class. We discussed about object. We discussed about variables. We discussed about methods, right? So what is a class? What is a class? Class. It is a plan or model. It is a plan or model. It contains variables and methods. Class is a plan. It contains variables and methods. What is the object? What is the object? Physical entity. Object is called as a physical entity. What is the purpose of the object? It is used to store the data. Object is used to store the data. Then what is the purpose of variables? Object also used to store the data. Then why variables are required? Come on, guys. Object nothing but physical entity. Physical entity. What is the purpose of variables? Used to store the data. Used to store the data. That variable can hold a value or variable can hold one object also. Variables are used to store the data. What is the purpose of methods? To perform some operation, we are going to use methods. Methods are used to perform the operation. All right. In that, variables are divided into three types, guys. What are the three types of variables? One is instance variables, and the second one is static variables, and the third one is local variables. Instance variables, static variables, and local variables. What is the difference between instance, static, and local? Okay, this is inside class, outside method without static keyword, right? Without static keyword, inside the class, outside the method, without static keyword, we are going to write the variables. Those are called as instance variables. Then what about static variables? Inside class, outside method, inside class, outside method with a static keyword, we are going to write static variables. What about the local variables? Inside the method, we will call them as local variables. Okay, methods are used to perform the operation. How many types of methods available? Two types of methods available. Instance method is available, and static method is also available. Instance method available, static method available. Instance method we will call by using object. We will call by using object. What about the static method? Static method we will call by using class name. We will call by using class name. Got it? When the memory will be allocated for the instance variables? When the object is created, when object created, memory will be allocated. When object created, memory will be allocated for instance variables. How many times object will be allocated? How many times memory will be allocated for instance variables? Come on, man. Multiple times, huh? In my class, there are two instance variables available. How many times memory will be allocated? My question is, how many times memory will be allocated for instance variables? Only one time. Depends on number of objects we create. If I created 10 objects, 10 times memory will be allocated. If I create 20 objects, 20 times memory will be allocated, because every object will maintain its own copy of the instance variable. If you create one object, one time memory will be allocated. If I create two objects, two times memory will be allocated. If I create three objects, three times memory will be allocated for instance variables. When object created, memory will be allocated for instance variables. Every object will maintain its own copy of instance variables. Every object will maintain its own copy of the instance variables. Then what about static variables? What about the static variables? Come on, guys. Static variables inside the class, outside the method with a static keyword. How many times memory will be allocated for static variables? When it will be allocated? When class is loaded. When class is loaded, then memory will be allocated for static variables. For static variables. How many times memory will be allocated for static variables? One time. When the class is loaded, only at that time memory will be allocated for static variables. What about the local variables? What about the local variables? When method is executed, then only memory will be allocated. When method executed, when method is invoked, then only memory will be allocated. Memory will be allocated for local variables. Initialization is mandatory or optional for the local variables. When it is mandatory, before using the local variable, we have to initialize the local variable. Before using local variable, we have to initialize that. But what about instance and static? What about the instance and static? No need. Why? If you don't initialize, then JVM will initialize with the default value. If you don't initialize, then JVM will initialize that with the default value. But for the local variable, we have to initialize the local variable before using that. But for the instance and static, initialization is optional. Initialization is optional. If you don't initialize, then JVM will initialize with the default value. Class is a plan or model. It contains variables and methods. Class is a plan or model. It contains variables and methods. Object is a physical entity. It is used to access variables and methods of the class. By using object, we can access the variables and we can access the methods of the class also if they are instance. If they are static, we can access by using class name. Static variables can be accessed by using class name. Static methods also can be accessed by using class name. What is the purpose of variables? Variables are used to store the data. Variables are divided into three types. Instance variables available, static variable available, local variable available. The variables which are declared inside the class and outside the method without static keyword are called as instance variables. Instance variables also called as global variable, also called as non-static variables. Whenever object is created, then memory will be allocated for instance variable. Every object will maintain its own copy of the instance variable. If you create 10 objects, 10 times memory will be allocated for the instance variable. If I create 20 objects, 20 times memory will be allocated for the instance variable. Okay, what about the static variable? Inside the class, outside the method, with the static keyword. If you create the variable, then it is called as a static variable. When class is loaded, then memory will be allocated for the static variable. What about the local variable? When method is invoked, then only memory will be allocated for local variable. Before using local variable, we have to initialize that. Before using local variable, we have to initialize the local variable. Then what about methods? What about the methods? Methods are used to perform some operation. Instance methods available and static methods available. Instance method we will call by using object, and static method we will call by using class name. Every method contains method declaration and method definition. What is the meaning of declaration and definition? Yes, method declaration and method definition. Method declaration nothing but signature. Method definition nothing but method body. Signature contains what values? Signature will contain return type plus name plus list of parameters. Method signature contains return type plus method name plus list of parameters. What is the body? Body contains logic. Inside the method body, we are going to write the logic. That means what operation that method has to perform, that we are going to write inside the method body. That is called logic. That is called as logic. Now, can I take primitive data type as a method parameter and return type? Can I take primitive type as a parameter and return type? Is it valid void m1 into I? Yes or no? Yes, I can take primitive type as a parameter. Can I take object as a parameter, object as a return type? Yes, you can take object also as a parameter, object also as a return type. When to go for object as a parameter? When you want to supply group of values at a time, then we can go for object as a parameter. Can I pass multiple objects as a parameter? Yes, by using array, you can take multiple objects also as a parameter. When to go for method return type? When we need a return type for the method? When after performing the operation, after the logic got executed, our method should return some value. Can I return one int value from the method? Can I return string value? Can I return one object? Can I return object array? Yes. How to understand which return type I need to take? Requirement. Based on the requirement, we need to understand what signature we need to take and what body we need to write. Based on the requirement, we need to think and we need to write the logic for the method. What is the parameter? What is the return type? What is the logic? What we need to write, that you need to decide based on the requirement. Can you buttify the signature of the methods? Will not work out, because for every requirement, method will be different. Method signature will be different. Method body will be different. Got it? Yes. Read this once again. Whatever we have studied in the last 1 week of time. Last 1 week, कब start हुआ? Oops. Deepavali पहले. Almost more than a week. Yes. Read it, all of you. Class is a plan or model. It contains variables and methods. Object is an entity which is used to access instance variables and instance methods of the class. Variables are used to store the data. Read this. Completed? Yeah. Read this. Huh? 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 Variables. Yes, they will be stored in the stack. Whenever the method is executed or when the class is in the method area, they will store first because all the class code is storing in the method area. Sorry, static variables will be stored in the method area because they are part of the class code, right? They will store in the method area, not in the stack. Local variables will store in the stack. So that static variables will be stored in the method area. Completed? Good. Fine. Next, let me take one class. Student. Okay. I have taken a class called student. Inside the student class, integer ID, string name, integer age, and a string gender. Okay. I have 4 variables. These variables are static variables or instance variables. These variables are instance variables which I have declared inside the class and outside the method. Next one, let us go for main method. Let us go for main method. Can I access id is equal to, can I directly access like this? Id is equal to 102? No. Why? Instance variable should be accessed by using object. Did I create the object or I have not created the object? No. When the memory will be allocated for the instance variable, when the object is created, then only memory will be allocated for instance variable. Can you tell me how to create the object? Can I do like this? Student Raju is equal to new student. Student Raju is equal to new student. Now, can I do like this? Raju dot ID is equal to 101. Raju dot name is equal to some Raju, and Raju dot age is equal to some 20, and Raju dot gender is equal to male. Is it valid? So what I have done now? I have created one object. Using that object, I have initialized instance variables of the class. When the object is created, then memory will be allocated for the instance variable. Using that object, I have initialized the instance variables of the class. Now, can I create one more object? Can I create one more object? Student Rani is equal to new student. Rani dot ID is equal to some 102, and Rani dot name is equal to Rani, then Rani dot age is equal to some 22 and Rani dot gender is equal to female. Okay, is it valid? How many objects I have created? Two objects. How many times memory allocated for instance variables? Two times. Four variables available. First, when the Raju object created, memory allocated for the four variables. When the Rani object created, memory allocated for the four variables. Perfect. Suppose now object I am creating and I am initializing the values for the variables. How many objects I have initialized? Two objects I have initialized. Now I want to represent all the students who are available in the offline class. How many objects I need to create? How many times I need to initialize the variables? How many objects I need to create now? Number of students available. How many times I need to initialize the variables? Number of students. Now almost there are 50 to 60 people available in the offline. 50 objects I have to create and 50 times I need to initialize the four variables. So how many lines of code I need to write? How many lines of code I need to write? 60 people are there. 60 lines just to create the object. 60 into 4. Right, so many lines of code I need to write just to initialize the variables. Are you guys getting my point? So my program lines, the number of lines of code is going to increase. But today, just for offline, I want to create the objects. Every student having a different name, different age. Okay, I have to initialize all the values for every student. Only for offline 60 members are there. If I take online also, 120 people are available. 120 plus 60, 180 objects I have to create. If I create 180 objects, how many times memory will be allocated for the instance variables? 180 times memory will be allocated for the instance variable. 180 students having the different names, different age, different gender, different ID. For every student, 4 lines. 180 into 4. 720 lines of code I have to write to represent all the students belongs to my class. Is it easy? Is it recommended? No. This is not the recommended way to initialize the instance variables of the class. If I follow this approach, 750 lines of code I have to write. Are you guys getting my point? 180 students are available. 180 lines I have to write only to create the object, and 720 lines I need to write to initialize. 720 plus 180. 900 lines of code I have to write in my program. Will you recommend that? So if I go to my Java project batch, 300 people are available. Then how many lines of code I need to write? 1500 lines of code I have to write to represent the students. Is it recommended? No. That's where constructors came into picture. Understood? So now if you want to initialize the variables, you don't need to write like this. If you write like this, the number of lines of the code is going to increase. Easily we can initialize instance variables of the class in the single line by using constructor. What is the purpose of constructor? Katam. Constructor is used to initialize instance variables of the class. That's it. Simple. We already know what is a class. We already know what is a variable. We know what is initialization. What is a class? Come on. Class is a plan or model which represents variables and methods. What is the purpose of variables? Variables are used to store the data. Now my class is having 4 instance variables I want to represent all the students available in the class. For every student, one object will be created. 4 properties are available. Create one object, initialize the properties. Create second object, initialize the properties. Create the third object, initialize the properties. Create the 90th object, initialize the properties. The lines of code is going to increase. Okay. Initializing the variables for all the students is a lengthy process. Number of lines of code is going to increase. To overcome this problem, Java provided one concept, one beautiful concept available in the Java, which is called constructor, which is called as constructor. What is constructor? Why we need to go for constructor? And how to work with the constructor, that we have to understand. What is our next topic? Constructor. Now observe, first I will write some points about the constructor, then we will work with that. Constructor, it is a special method in Java. It is a special method in Java which is used to initialize current class variables, current class instance variables. Got my point? Read the definition. It is a special method in Java which is used to initialize current class instance variables. As of now, how I am initializing current class instance variables? By using object. Object reference dot variable is equal to value. I am initializing my variable like this. From now onwards, we can use a concept called constructor. What is constructor? Constructor is a special method in Java which is used to initialize current class instance variables. Constructor name should be same as class name. Constructor name should be same as class name. Constructor should not have return type. For constructor, we should not write the return type, not even void also. For the method, return type is mandatory. If a method don't want to return anything, then you will go for void. But for constructor, no return type, not even void. Constructor should not return anything. What is the duty of the constructor? It is used to initialize the instance variables of the current class. That is very important. Constructor is used to initialize the instance variables of the current class. It is a special method without return type. Method is used to perform the operation. Method will have a return type. Constructor ka kaam just initialize the variables. Don't return anything. Constructor will not have any return type. Constructor will not have any return type, not even void. If you write return type for the constructor, it will become a method. That is no more constructor. If you write a return type for the constructor, that is not a constructor. That will be considered as a method. Okay, note. If we write return type for the constructor, if we write return type for the constructor, then it will become method. It will become method. Yes, read these points. Constructor is a special method in Java which is used to initialize current class instance variables. Constructor name should be same as class name. Constructor will not have any return type, not even void. If we write return type for the constructor, then it will become method. Now, what is the syntax for the constructor? What is the syntax for the constructor? Now, class, for example, demo is my class name. Class demo is my class name. Then constructor will become demo. That's it. That's it. This is called as a constructor. Am I following the rules? Yes. What is the first rule? constructor name should be same as class name. Constructor will not have any return type. So class name is what? Demo. What is my constructor name? Demo. Do I have any return type? If I write void, it is a method. If you write a return type, it will become method. For the constructor, no return type. Can I take a parameter? Yes, parameters you can take for the constructor, but return type cannot be available for the constructor. Now, can you tell me how to create a object for a class? Demo D is equal to new demo. Can I say it is object creation? That means if you want to create the object, you are calling the constructor. What is that? Constructor. So whenever you create the object, constructor will be called automatically. You no need to call it. Creating the object matlab calling the constructor. Creating the object means calling the constructor. What is the proof? I will show you that. Now let me take a program. This is a student program, right? Yeah, let me take one employee program. New class employee. New class employee. Okay, my class name is employee, right? Inside that, can you tell me constructor? How can I write a constructor? Employee, employee. Can I say it is a constructor? Yes. Can I write one statement? So the employee constructor. Employee constructor. Write a main method. Can I create the object? How to create the object? Employee emp is equal to new employee. Employee emp is equal to new employee. What is this? Can I say that I'm calling the constructor? Yes. Run this program. Run this program. Can you see that message printed? So whatever is there in the SOP, is it printing or not? So what is the meaning of that? Constructor is calling or constructor is not calling? Constructor is calling. When the constructor is calling, people in the interview, they will ask a question. Constructor will be called before object creation or after object creation. Before or after? Typical Indian mentality. If I give two answers, you will choose one, but both are wrong. If I give you two answers, you will choose one, but both are wrong answer. Constructor will not execute before object or after the object. Constructor will execute during the object creation. While object is creating, our constructor will be executed. Are you guys getting my point? Yes. Now tell me, when the constructor will be executed? During the object creation, constructor will be executed. Object creation nothing but calling the constructor only. So here, can you see the syntax of the constructor? Constructor name should be same as the class name. Constructor should not have a return type. Constructor should not have a return type. So whatever the constructor I have, whatever I am calling here, both are same or not. So what is the meaning of object creation? Object creation means calling the constructor. When the object is creating, constructor will be called. What is the purpose of the constructor? To initialize instance variables of the current class. If you want to initialize the instance variables of the class, then we need to go for constructor. Then you may get a doubt. Sir, if I don't write the constructor also, I am able to create the object now. How? How I am able to create the object? My class does not have a constructor now, but still I am able to create the object. I'm able to call the constructor. What is happening there? there is a simple point that we need to understand. JVM is intelligent. JVM is intelligent. Whenever you write a class, JVM will understand that this person, this programmer may create the object for the class in future. Currently he is not creating, but he is writing the class. But बाद में object create कर सकता है. That person can create the object in the future. If that person want to create the object, that person needs a constructor. So that's why not JVM. First, whenever we write the Java program, Java compiler will check, does this class is having any constructor or not? Do I have any constructor? No. When your class does not have any constructor, Java compiler will add the constructor for your class, not the JVM. Forget about the JVM. So Java compiler will check, does this class is having any constructor or not? If the class does not have the constructor, then Java compiler will add the constructor. Sir, what is the proof? What is the proof? You are saying some statement, but prove it. Can I prove that now? Yes. Chalo. Let me take one program. If Sara program delete maro. New text document employee.java. I'm taking one class with a name called employee.java. Okay. I'm taking a class employee. Taking a class called employee. Am I writing any constructor? So just I have created a class name. Just to close this file. I have my class. Can I compile my class? Yes. Open command prompt Java C employee.java class compile. When the class is compiled, what happened? Dot class file is generated. Can I see the dot class file? Can I see the dot class file? समझ में आ रहा है कुछ? No, that is what? It is a bytecode. It is a bytecode. I have created a source code. That source code I have compiled. It generated the bytecode. Is it in the readable format? Can I read that bytecode? No. Now I will use one command, that is Java P, Java profiler. As of now we used Java compiler. Now I am using Java profiler. Java P space employee. Now can you see? Whatever the code I have written, whatever the code available, matching or not matching? Not matching. Why? What is the difference you have seen? Constructor is added. JVM added or compiler added? Compiler added. Why it is adding? Because my class does not have a constructor. That's why compiler is adding the default constructor. Because of this reason, we are able to create the objects till today. Till today, we created the objects for our classes without having the constructor. The reason, our compiler is adding one default constructor for our class. Are you guys able to understand? Yes, tell me, what is constructor? Why we need constructor? Constructor is a special method in the Java. What is the purpose of that? It is used to initialize the current class instance variable. Constructor name should be same as class name. Constructor should not have a return type. By mistake, if you write the return type, that will become method. That is not a constructor. Writing the constructor in the class is mandatory or optional? Optional. If you don't write, compiler will write that. If you write it, compiler will not write it. Got it? Can I prove that also? Right. Now here I have my employee.java. In this class, just a class is available. There is no constructor. I am compiling my program. When I compile, dot class file is generated. How to see the code in the dot class? Java P space class name. Java P space class name. When I execute it, compiled from employee.java boss, This class is compiled by using employee.java. I have written the class constructor added by the compiler. Perfect. Now let me add my own constructor. Let me add my own constructor. Can I write like this? Employee, once upon a time he is a student only, na? Employee means once upon a time he is student only, right? Can I write like this? No. Why? Class name should be same as the constructor name. So employee, here I need to use employee. It is a special method. That's why method syntax we are following. Curly braces available, that constructor starting point, constructor ending point. It is something like a method. Can I do like this? Is it valid or not? Try. Java C employee.java. It is not valid, incorrect. वो तो लैंग्वेज वाला है ना, वो कुछ भी कर सकते भाई, वो लोग कुछ भी कर सकते बट हम नहीं कर सकते. Right. So you should not write like this. Constructor means it has to follow method syntax. What is the meaning of method syntax? Body is mandatory. Body is mandatory. Now can I say my class is having a constructor? Yes, I am writing the constructor. If a compiler also adding the constructor, there should be two constructors, right? Can we prove that? Can we check that? Yes, compile this Java C employee.java Java space employee. Sorry, yeah. Java C, I have compiled my program, then Java P, just class name. Now, two constructors available or one constructor is available? One constructor. This time compiler is adding the constructor or compiler not adding the constructor? Not adding. Why compiler not adding? Because I have declared the constructor in the class. When we write the constructor, compiler will not add. If we don't write the constructor, then compiler will add the constructor. No, that they are just showing that constructor is added. That is not for our execution purpose. That is just to say that constructor is added, not for execution. Okay? Huh? Kya? No, that is different story, man. Huh? Syntax ऐसी है ना, इसलिए syntax ऐसी है इसलिए. I am not saying that method. I am saying that it is a special method. Special मतलब return type नहीं है. Good. Fine. Huh? Why come? Hold on, man. Just let me listen to him. What is your question, buddy? Reason is to allow you to create the objects. If it is not adding the constructor, can you create the object for the class? You cannot. So Java is a object oriented programming language. You are creating the class. Class is just a plan. You cannot do anything with the class. You will write a method. To call the method, you need the object. To create the object, you need the constructor. Instead of you are doing that, compiler providing that. Got it? Yes, compiler is giving you that constructor so that you can create the objects for your class. Right. Okay, fine. So with this we understood what is a constructor and why we need a constructor. Constructor is a special method to initialize current class instance variable. Constructor name should be same as class name. Constructor will not have any return type, not even void. You should not write the void also. If we write return type for the constructor, then it will become method. So class demo, this is a constructor. I'm creating the object. Inside this constructor, you can write some logic. When we create the object, then constructor will be executed. At the time of object creation, our class constructor will be executed. Class constructor will be executed. Can I say constructor is mandatory to create the object? No. Yes, it's mandatory. If the constructor is not mandatory, how can you call like this? Object creation means constructor we are calling. So can I say constructor is mandatory to create the object? Yes, constructor is mandatory to create the objects. Constructor is mandatory to create the object. If I don't write the constructor, compiler is adding or JVM is adding? Compiler. If we don't write the constructor, then Java compiler adding one default constructor for our class. It is adding one default constructor to our class. How can we prove that? How can we prove that? By using Java P class name. We can check the default constructor using below command. What is the command? Java P, Java profiler. We can check default constructor for the class using below command. Using below command. So whatever the constructor which is adding by our Java compiler, can I call it as a default constructor? Yes, this is called as a default constructor. Who is adding the default constructor? Programmer is adding or compiler is adding? Compiler is adding. As a programmer, if I add the constructor in the class, if we write the constructor in the class, then what is the Java compiler behavior? If we write constructor in the class, then compiler will not add any constructor. If you don't write it, then only compiler will add. If you write it, compiler will not add. Are you guys able to follow me? Yes. When compiler will add the constructor, when compiler will not add the constructor? When the programmer not writing the constructor in the class, then compiler is adding. When the programmer writing the constructor, then compiler not adding. Why compiler adding? What is the reason behind that? To allow the programmers to create the objects. To create the object, constructor is mandatory. When the constructor will be executed? During the object creation. Do I need to call the constructors like a method? Do I need to call the constructors like a method? No. What is the purpose of a method? Methods are used to perform the operation. When the methods will be executed? When they called. Methods are used to perform the operation. Any logic you can execute by using method. Whenever you write the method, you need to call the method. If you call the method, then only it is going to execute. Method can take the parameter, method can have the return type. But what is the constructor? Constructor is used to initialize the variables. Constructor is used to initialize the object. Got it? When the constructor will be called? When the object is created. You no need to call the constructor. If you create the object, automatically constructor will be executed. When the constructor is executed, instance variables will be initialized with the default values. Who is initializing our instance variables with default values? Now we are matured, not the JVM. JVM will tell to constructor, constructor will do that initialization. Understood? Huh? Right. Whenever you born, did you eat biryani? No. Step by step. Okay? Now, who is initializing the instance variables? JVM or constructor? Constructor. So our instance variables are initializing with the default values with the help of constructor only. Constructor is a special method which does not have a return type. Normal methods will have a return type. Constructor is a special method which will not have the return type. From now, we need to remember that. Instance variables are initializing by constructor, not by the JVM. So when we are discussing the variables, you don't know constructor. That's why I told that JVM is initializing. Now we got the maturity. We are correcting that statement. Who is initializing instance variables? Constructor with the default values. All right. Yes, sir. No, in the whenever the constructor is executing, it will be stored in the stack. Once the constructor execution completed, it will remove that. Yes, right. Fine. Now, guys, in the Java, constructors are divided into two types. Methods also divided into two types. Na? What are those methods? Instance method is available, static method is available. Similarly, constructors also divided into two types. Come on, what type of those? Instance constructor, static. I am expecting that answer. That is for methods. Methods are instance and static, right? Constructors, there is no instance constructor, there is no static constructor. That is parameterized constructor and no parameterized constructor. So constructors are divided into how many types? Constructors are divided into two types. First one is, I thought that people will say static constructor, instance constructor. All right. So constructors are divided into two types, guys. Constructors are divided into two types. What are those two types of the constructors? Come on, guys. First one is a zero parameterized constructor and the second one is a parameterized constructor. This zero parameterized constructor can also called as a default constructor. Not JVM. Java compiler will add the constructor when we don't write that. If we write it, it will not add it. So we can take two types of constructors in the class. One is zero parameterized constructor and the second one is a parameterized constructor. What is a zero parameterized constructor? Constructors without any parameter. Can I write a method also without parameter? Yes. Similarly, we can write the constructor without parameters is called as zero param constructor. For example, if I take class as a student, now I will write student. Right. Now, any parameters available? Any parameters available? Parameters are not available. So that can be called as a zero parameterized constructor. Zero param constructor. Zero param constructor, or we can call it as a default constructor. Then what is parameterized constructor? The constructor which is having one or more. It can have more. It can have two. It can have three. It can have 10 also. The constructor which contains one or more parameters is called as a parameterized constructor. How can we take this? Class student. Here I can take int I comma int b. Int I comma int b. So parameters available or not available? Parameters are available. So can I call this as a parameterized constructor? Yes. Can I call this as a zero param constructor? Yes. How many types of constructors available? There are two types of constructors available. One is zero param constructor. Another one is parameterized constructor. The constructor which does not have the parameters, it is called zero param constructor. The constructor which is having the parameters is called as parameterized constructor. If the class is having parameterized constructor, we need to pass the values for the constructor while creating the object. Are you guys getting my point? Now, see here. I'm taking a class called employee. I'm creating the object. So can I say object creation means calling the constructor? Yes. Do I have the constructor or I don't have it? I have it. Compiler is added. Added. I have it. That means compiler is added. That's why I am able to create the object. Am I passing any value? No. Why? By default, the class is having a default constructor which is added by Java compiler. Now, if I am writing like this, can I say constructor? What kind of constructor it is? What kind of constructor it is? Zero param constructor. I am writing that. I am writing that. If I am writing the constructor, compiler will add or compiler will not add? Will not add. If I don't write, then only compiler will add. If I write it, compiler will not add it. Okay, let me write SOP system.out.println hello. What is the output of this program? Hello. Why? I am creating the object. Object creation means calling the constructor. Object creation means calling the constructor. Now, when this constructor is called, the logic available in the constructor will be executed. System.out.println hello. Run this program. Yes. Am I getting hello? Yes, I'm getting hello. Okay. Here, I'm going to take integer I. Error आ रहा है भाई. Why we are getting the error? My constructor is expecting a parameter, but I am not passing that. This is the proof to say that it is trying to call the constructor. Which constructor it is trying to call? It is a zero param constructor na. Which constructor it is trying to call? It is trying to, in the line number 10, which constructor it is trying to call? Zero param constructor. But why it is not able to call? In the program, we don't have zero param constructor. In the program, we are having only parameterized constructor. That's why we are getting the error. Okay, if I remove this parameter, okay, my program is having zero param. I am also calling the zero param. It is matching. It is going to execute. But when my constructor is having a parameter, my program trying to call the zero param. Oh, nahi hai bhai udhar. That constructor is not available. Why compiler not adding? Why compiler not adding zero param? There is a constructor. Programmer writing the constructor. That's why compiler not adding the constructor. That is the point you have to remember. If you write any constructor, whether it is a zero param or whether it is a parameterized, compiler will not add it. If you don't write any constructor, then only compiler will add it. In my program, which constructor is available? In my program, which constructor is available? Parameter constructor. But I am trying to create the object by calling zero param, which is not available. That's why my program is failing. Now tell me how to create the object. How to create the object? I should create the object by calling zero param constructor or parameterized constructor. Parameter constructor. What is the parameter it is expecting? Integer. It is expecting integer. Can I pass the number as 100? Yes, it is valid. Now, which constructor I am calling? Parameterized constructor. Can we run the program? What is the output? Hello or hello 100? Hello only, because I am not using the variable, man. That variable is available, but am I using that? I am not using that. I'm not using that. Okay. Can I take like this integer j? Can I say that integer j? How many parameters available? 2. So it is a parameterized constructor or zero param constructor? Parameter constructor. Why? Because my constructor is having 2 parameters. Can I have 3 parameters also? Yes. Now, instead of writing this, can I do I plus j? Yes or no? I plus j. Now, my which constructor is available in my program? Parameterized. Which constructor I am calling? Parameterized. But why error? My program is having constructor with 2 parameters, but I am calling constructor with 1 parameter. It is not matching. If a constructor is expecting 2 parameters, you have to create the object by passing 2 parameters. Let me pass 100 comma 200. Valid or not? Valid. Okay. Now output 300. Why 300? Integer I, integer j, I am calling the parameter constructor with 2 int values. This 100 will be stored into I variable, 200 will be stored into j variable, I plus j, 100 plus 200, 300 will be printed. Yes, you understand how to call the constructor? Yes. So constructors are divided into how many types? 2 types. What are those? Zero parameter constructor and parameterized constructor. And now, if I want to create the object, I need to call the constructor. My class is having parameterized constructor. I am calling the object. I'm creating the object by calling the parameterized constructor. Can I take 3 parameters also? Yes, we can take the 3 parameters also for a constructor. Yes, now I hope you got the clarity. Yes, please read it. Ajamu. Who is that Ajamu? Yeah, read it. Come on. Same class. Same class. We can't do. Every class should have its own constructor. Come on, guys, read it. Every class will have its own constructor. That also, if I take employee class will have employee constructor. If I take a student class, student constructor. If I take a player class, player constructor. Demo class, demo constructor. Three classes will have 3 constructors. No. Some Biswajit asking one question. Can we make one class construct another class? Illegal. Not possible. Cheating. Biswajit. Biswajit, you can't do that, man. Every class will have its own constructor. Constructor name should be same as a class name. How can you write the student constructor in the employee? That is different story. We don't know what is inheritance. बाद में आता है. है ना, आप लोग को कोर जावा ऑलरेडी पता है. Can I go for advanced Java? If you want to, you guys can join for JRTP for next 10 days, no problem, because the next 10 days that I'm going to explain Maven GitHub that is required for you people also, but not now, but at least you will get some idea. Same link. Website pe hai na? In this website you can see that. यही तो लिंक है. Today yes, no. Tomorrow no class. We have next class on Monday. Monday we are going to understand the tools. What are the tools available in that? You can join, yes, if you want. Guys, next 10 days you guys also can attend the classes for the JRTP because the Zoom link is there, online class. The reason is I'm going to explain some tools in the classes. GitHub, that GitHub is required for you also. GitHub means multiple developers will be available. Code integration एक ही place पे होना चाहिए. For that we'll use GitHub. Again, for you people, I will explain the GitHub when we come for the project level. If you are interested to learn the now, you can attend, but not mandatory. Yeah, please read it. No, sir, that not for us. That UI batch is not for us, not for us. Yeah, that is not for us. That is not our batch. Okay. No. Huh? No. That is a different institute batch. Yes, guys, come on. Still, I'm finalizing the trainer for our UI classes. I'm checking with the trainers. Today I had 2 to 3 sessions with the trainers for our UI, but they are not satisfying me. If I take all these many classes now, मेरा wife me जो divorce देगा, institute पे मर जाओ आप. Right, fine. So we are trying, come on guys, we are trying to understand which concept. We are trying to understand constructor. What is a constructor? Constructor is a special method in Java which is used to initialize current class instance variable. Constructor name should be same as class name. Constructor will not have any return type, not even void. If we write a return type for the constructor, it will become method. Class name, constructor name. Every constructor will have a body. Constructor will have a body. Constructor can have a parameter. Constructor can have more than one parameter also. But only thing is return type will not be available. Okay. So demo D is equal to new demo. What is the meaning of this? I am calling the constructor. At the time of object creation, our class constructor will be executed. Constructor is mandatory to create the object. Object creation means calling the constructor only. Can I say this? Object creation means calling the constructor. Object creation means calling the constructor. If we don't write the constructor, then Java compiler will add. Java compiler will add one default constructor to our class. If we don't write the constructor in class, then Java compiler will add one default constructor to our class. We can check default constructor for the class using below command, Java p space class name. If we write constructor in the class, then compiler will not add any constructor. Constructors are divided into how many types? 2 types. What are the 2 types? One is zero param constructor, another one is parameterized constructor. What is the meaning of zero param constructor? The constructor which does not have any parameter is called as a zero param constructor. Then what is a parameterized constructor? Constructor which contains one or more parameters is called as parameterized constructor. Now see, class employee. Employee class is having 2 parameters. Employee constructor is having 2 parameters. I am writing the constructor. Compiler will add or compiler will not add? Compiler will not add. So now there is a parameterized constructor. When there is a parameterized constructor, at the time of object creation, we need to pass the parameters. Now guys, my constructor is having integer I, integer j as a parameters. My constructor having parameters. Can I say into I, into j, 2 variables? Can I say these are 2 variables? Yes. These variables are local variables. Why? Because these variables we can access only within the constructor. These variables we can access only within the constructor. Into I available, into j available. Can I access these variables outside the constructor? No, these are specific to constructor. Now let's go to our local variables definition. Can you tell me what is a local variable? What is a local variable? Inside the method. The variable which is declared inside the method is called as a local variable. Now statement change. Statement change. The variables which are declared inside the method or inside the constructor are called as local variables. It can be a method parameter or it can be inside the method. It can be a constructor parameter. It can be inside the constructor. Those variables are called as local variables. धीरे धीरे हमारा maturity बढ़ रहा है. That means slowly our knowledge is increasing. So whenever we discussed about local variable, I just told that the variable which is declared inside the method is called local variable. Now, can you tell me ARGS is what type of variable? Is it an instance or static or local? Local. Why local? It is specific to this method only. ARGS is a variable which is specific to this method only. So this ARGS is a local variable. EMP is also a local variable. I is a local variable. J is a local variable. Are you guys getting my point? So if you take a method parameter or constructor parameter, those parameters are called as local variables. Method parameters and constructor parameters also called as local variable. Last one. Understanding? Your face is looking very dull, man. क्या हुआ? Break up? हाँ? क्या हुआ भाई? कुछ नहीं. Okay, ठीक है. Right. So now integer I comma integer j. There are two parameters available for the method. That means there are two local variables available. Those local variables we can access inside the constructor. They are not accessible outside the constructor. We can access them only within the constructor, not outside the constructor. That's why those variables are called as local variables. Okay. Now, can I take like this? Employee string name double salary. Yes. Can I take a constructor like this? Yes or no? String name double salary. What is this name and salary? These are two local variables acting as a constructor parameters. My constructor is having name parameter, salary parameter. Name is a string type, salary is a double type. Okay. Now I want to print it. System.out.println name and system.out.println salary. System.out.println name, system.out.println salary. Now, can I create the object? Yes, tell me how to create the object. Employee EMP is equal to new employee. Okay. Can I create like this? No. What is this? What is this piece? I'm trying to call the zero param constructor, but this class having the zero param constructor? No, this class does not have the zero param constructor. Compiler is adding or not adding? Compiler is adding or not adding? Not adding. Why not adding? Because our class is having a parameterized constructor. If our class is having a parameterized constructor, compiler will not do that. Now, if I want to create the object for the employee, I need to call only this parameterized constructor. What is the first parameter? String. String. What is the second parameter? Double. Then pass the string data, some Raju, comma, salary. Salary. Okay. Raju, comma, 15,000. Can I run this program? Yes. Raju and 15,000. इधर अरे भाई हाँ They want to understand my salary. ठीक है यार. Huh? Salary, why you are not taking as a float? Huh? If I take a float, now I need to write F here. Because the default decimal value is a double value. So if you want to take it as a float, you need to write as F here. Then it is valid. Right. Now take this. Raju and 15,000. So we are able to write the constructor with the parameters, and we are able to create the object by calling parameterized constructor. Can I say that here I'm calling parameterized constructor? Can I say that I'm calling parameterized constructor? Yes, emp1. Now, can I create one more employee? Can I create one more employee? Employee 2. Yes, I'm going for Ramu 25,000. Ramu 25,000. Click on this button. Yes. Am I able to create the 2 employees? Yes. How many objects are created? 2 objects are created. How many times the constructor is called? 2 times. Here I am calling the constructor for first time. Here I am calling the constructor for the second time. So if object creation means constructor calling only. So whenever the object is created, constructor will be called. Constructor will be called before object creation or after object creation. That is the right statement. Constructor will be called during the object creation, not before, not after. Good. So if I create 3 objects, then what will happen? Employee emp3 is equal to new employee. Employee emp3 is equal to new employee. Let me take some Sita. Some number. I need to pass F. Why I need to pass F? Float value. My data type is a float. Okay, run this. Yes, Ramu. Where is Raju? Raju, Ramu, Sita. So that means I am passing 3. I'm creating 3 objects. So here I am calling constructor for first time. Here I am calling the constructor for second time. Here I am calling the constructor for third time. So 3 objects are created. That means 3 times my constructor is executed. Okay, good. Next one. Here guys, I want to initialize my class variables. I want to initialize my class variables. I'm going to take string name float salary. String name and float salary. Got it? So now what are these variables? What are these variables? Instance variables. Okay. These variables are instance variables. Remove this. Now, which constructor I have? Which constructor I have? 0 parameterized constructor. Inside the constructor, can I access those variables? Name. Yes. Can I access these variables? What is the output? Am I initializing or I am not initializing? I am not initializing. If I don't initialize, who will initialize? Constructor. With which value? With a default value. Okay, run this program. Null and 0.0, we are able to see that. That means when the object is created, our current class instance variables are initialized with the default values. Null and 0.0 we are getting as a output. Now by using the constructor, I want to initialize the variables. By using this constructor, I want to store some value to the variable. Got my point? Using this constructor, I want to store some value to the variable. Okay, here I'm going to take string name and float salary. String name and float salary I'm taking. Now, can I say name is one instance variable? Can I say salary is one instance variable? Name is one instance variable. Salary is one instance variable. Then what is this? Name is local variable. Salary is also local variable. My class is having which constructor? My class is having a parameter constructor. So can I create the object with the default constructor? No, I need to create the object with the parameter constructor. How many parameters available? There are two parameters available. First parameter is a string parameter. Second parameter is a float parameter. String parameter I am taking here some Raju, and salary I am taking something like this. Okay, float value. Now, can I say that this name is holding Raju? Can I say this name is holding Raju? This salary holding 55,000? Yes. Now, data is available in the local variable or data is available in the instance variable? My values, Raju and the salary. This data is available in the local variable. Whenever I execute this program, that means whenever I run this program, my program execution will begin from main method. Inside the main method, what I am doing? I am creating the object. Employee EMP is equal to new employee. Raju comma 55,000. So this is used to call parameterized constructor. For this parameterized constructor, first parameter is Raju, second parameter is 55,000. So when this program is executed, Raju value will be stored into name variable, 55,000 will be stored into salary variable. This name and salary are the local variables. What about this name and salary? Instance variable. Instead of taking the name and salary, can I take yes? Can I take F? Is it valid? Variable name can be anything. Variable name can be anything. What is this S and F now? Local variable. S is the first parameter of the constructor. F is the second parameter of the constructor. So this constructor I am calling. First value will be stored to S variable. Second value will be stored to F variable. Now, can I store local variable data into instance variable? I'm repeating my question. I am creating the object. What is the meaning of object creation? What is the meaning of object creation? Object creation means calling the constructor. Whenever I call the constructor, this data will be supplied as a parameter to the constructor. Now, data is available in the S. S variable value, can I store into name variable? Simple, na? Name is equal to S. What I am doing? I am initializing instance variable with the local variable. Whatever the value I am passing to the constructor parameter, that value stored into S variable and F variable. This S variable value I am storing into name. This S variable value I am storing into name. This F variable value I can store into salary. Salary is equal to F. Name is equal to S. Salary is equal to F. What is the meaning of that? I am initializing my instance variables by using parameterized constructor local variables. How I am initializing my variables now? Those variables I am initializing by using my parameterized constructor. Suppose if I take name like this, valid or not? Valid or not? Valid only. If I take a salary here, valid, but confusion, confusion. Which one is a local variable? Which one is an instance variable? Programmers will get confused. Java people are intelligent. To avoid this confusion, they introduced a keyword called this keyword. What is the keyword, guys? This keyword. This keyword represents current class instance variable. This dot name is equal to name. What is the meaning of this dot name? This dot name represents this variable. This dot salary represents this variable. This dot name is equal to name. That means this is the value. This is the variable. Local variable data I am storing into current class instance variable. How I am differentiating instance variable and local variable? Using this keyword. This is used to represent current class object. What is the purpose of this keyword? This keyword is used to represent current class object. Got my point? Yes. Note down this program. Look at this. Now, if I want to print this data, can I print it? System.out.println name plus salary. Name plus salary. Okay. Run this. What is the output I will get now? Now, am I printing local variable data or instance variable data? Am I printing local variable data or instance variable data? Salary. Which one will give the preference? Local. Local. Value is same in the both variables. That is a different story. But inside the constructor, this name will point to this name or this name. Which one it is going to point now? Local. How can I point to instance variable? If I write this dot name, then I am pointing the instance variable. Got it? Always preference will be given to local, then non-local. So now when I go for this system.out.println of name, name is a preference given to local name or global name. All preference will be given to local name, not for the global. How to refer the global name? By using this keyword. What is the purpose of this keyword? To represent current class object. This is used to represent current class object. Perfect. Optional. But no, mandatory, man. Because if you don't write the this na, then what will happen? Same variable value we are storing with the same variable value. There is no use, no effect, because this name is referring to this only. This name also referring to this only. But my intention, whatever the value in the name, I want to store into current class variable. How to represent current class variable? This keyword. So global variable is equal to local variable value. That means whatever the value available in the local variable, I'm storing into instance variable. If I don't write this keyword, what is the problem? We are not using instance variable. We are using just local variable. Okay. Yes. What is the purpose of this keyword? Representing the current class instance variable. To represent current class object, we are going to use this keyword. Right. This keyword is used to this keyword. What is the purpose of this keyword? This keyword is used to, this is a predefined keyword in Java. This is a predefined keyword in the Java. What is the purpose of this keyword? It is used to represent current class object. It is used to represent current class object. Okay, I'm giving one program on this. Now, can I create one more employee object, guys? Can I create one more employee object? Yes. If I create one more employee object, what will happen? If I create one more object, what will happen? How many times the constructor will execute? My constructor is going to execute 2 times. When I create the constructor, when I create the object 2 times, that means this constructor will execute 2 times. What is the proof? This SOP statement will execute 2 times. Am I printing local variable data or I am printing instance variable data? Instance variable data. How can you say that? Because I am accessing the variable by using this keyword. This represents current class object. Object dot variable name. That is equal to object dot variable name. Run this program. Are we able to get first employee data and second employee data? Yes. Now, previously I have taken student. Do I need to do like this now? Do I need to write these many lines to initialize the student object? What I need to do now? I will take a student class with a constructor, parameterized constructor. How many parameters? 4 parameters. Can I do that? Yes or no? Yes. What is the first parameter? Integer ID, string name, then integer age, string gender. Now, can you tell me how can I initialize these variables? This dot ID is equal to ID. What is the meaning of this dot ID is equal to ID? Local variable value I'm storing into instance variable. This dot ID is equal to ID. This dot name is equal to name. This dot age is equal to age. This dot gender is equal to gender. Now, can I create the object like this? Can I create the object like this? Is it valid or invalid? Invalid. Why? I am trying to call which constructor? 0 param. But my class is having which constructor? Parameter constructor. So is it mandatory to call this constructor to create the object? Yes, because my class does not have a 0 param constructor. Why compiler not adding? Why compiler not adding? Because my class is having constructor. When our class is having a constructor, then compiler will not add the constructor. Now tell me, how many parameters available? 4. Integer ID 1 comma name I have to pass some Raju, then age 20, then gender male. Am I able to pass it? Yes. Now print it. System.out.println ID plus name plus age. Plus gender. Okay. How many objects I am creating now? How many objects I am creating now? One object. That means how many times my constructor will be called? One time. Okay. Am I able to access the data? Am I printing local variable data or instance variable data? Local variable. How to access instance variable data? This dot ID. I'm initializing the variable. Then I am printing the value. This dot ID, this dot name, this dot age, this dot gender. What is this? Current class object. This is used to represent the current class object. Okay. Next one. I want to represent one more student. Can I do that? Student S2 is equal to new student 1 comma some Rani and age some 22 and female. Okay. Yes. How many objects I have created? 2 objects. That means how many times my constructor will call? 2 times. Okay. Now, if I want to represent 200 students, how many lines of code I need to write? Just 200. That's it. If I want to represent 10 students, 10 lines. Am I able to initialize the data? But earlier, when the constructor concept is not available, when we don't know the constructor, how we are initializing the object? For every object, we are initializing the variable. 4 lines for every object. 4 lines of code we need to write to initialize every object. If I have 100 objects, 100 into 4. 400 lines I have to write to initialize the variable. But now, how many lines of code is available to initialize the variables? How many lines of code available to initialize the variables? Come on, man. To initialize the variables, how many lines of code? 4 lines. Earlier, 400 lines. Earlier 400 lines. Now just 4 lines of code we are writing to initialize instance variables of the class. How we are initializing instance variables of the class? How we are initializing instance variables of the class? By using constructor. What is the purpose of the constructor? To initialize the instance variables of the class. So every class will have its own constructor. Can I write one class constructor in the another class? Why not? Why not possible? First rule, constructor name should be same as a class name. Every class will have its own name. So every class will have its own constructor. One class constructor you cannot write inside the another class. Illegal. That is not possible. If I add a return type for the constructor, that will become a method. That will become a method. Got my point? Yes. Okay. Now, next concept is constructor overloading. Guys, are you able to understand what is zero param constructor and what is parameterized constructor? Yes. What is the difference between zero param constructor and parameterized constructor? Constructor without parameters is called as zero param. That constructor which is having one or more parameters is called as a parameterized constructor. Now you may get a question. Sir, when to go for zero param constructor, when to go for parameterized constructor? When you want to initialize your object with different values, then you need to go for parameterized constructor. When you want to initialize your variables with the default values, then we will go for zero param constructor. Got it? If you want to initialize your class variables, if you want to initialize instance variables of your class, then only we will go for constructor. If you want to initialize with the default value, default constructor is already there. You no need to write it. If you want to initialize instance variables of your class with different values, for every object you want to initialize some different value. Raju object, Raju values. Rani object, Rani values. Ramu object, Ramu values. For every object, if you want to represent different data for the instance variable, then we will go for parameterized constructor to initialize the instance variables of the class. What is the purpose of this keyword? To represent a current object. This is used to represent a current class object. Now, see here, when this first line is executed, this will represent which object? No, man. How many objects I am creating? 2. So this will represent current class object. But for current class, I am creating 2 objects now, S1 and S2. This will represent S1 or this will represent S2? Here, whenever this constructor is called, this will represent S1 object. When this constructor is called, it will represent S2. That means current object it is going to represent always. Got it? So now creating the object means what? Calling the constructor. When this constructor is called for first time, this will hold S1 object. When the constructor called for second time, this will represent S2 object. Got it? So here, when this line is executed, Raju data will be stored into instance variables. When the second line is executed, Rani data will be stored into instance variable. So when I'm printing this, see, first output is Raju, second output is Rani. So this is always representing current class object. Representing current class object. Perfect. What is the next concept? Constructor overloading. Simple. Right, listen guys. Right, writing more than one constructor with a different signature is called constructor overloading. What is the constructor overloading? Writing more than one constructor with different signature. That means nothing but different parameters, right? Writing more than one constructor with different parameters is called as constructor overloading. Now see, I'm taking a class called some employee. I'm taking a class called employee. So can I take a constructor for this class? Yes. How many types of constructors? Parameter are zero param. Now I'm taking employee integer I. What is that, guys? Integer I. I can say integer ID. Integer ID. Now I'm taking one more constructor string name. Okay. How many constructors available? How many constructors available? Two constructors are available. Parameters are same. Parameters are not same. First constructor parameter is a integer. Second constructor parameter is a string. Whenever you are going for constructor overloading, constructor parameters, type of the parameters, number of parameters should be different. Okay. Now, can I write a constructor like this? Valid or invalid? Invalid. Why? Duplicate constructor. What is the data type of both constructor parameter? Int only. So it is invalid. Whenever you are writing a constructor, data type should be different or number of parameters should be different. Suppose if I take like this int I comma int j, now valid. Constructor 1 is having one parameter, constructor 2 is having two parameters. If I write like this, double D, valid, because parameters are different. First one is having a int parameter, second one is having a double parameter. What is this concept called? This concept is called as constructor overloading. What is the meaning of constructor overloading? Writing a constructor with writing more than one constructor with different parameters is called as constructor overloading. Good. Now see here. Go to employee. Here there is one constructor with employee name and employee salary. Now here, guys, one employee is a intern employee. That employee does not have a salary. Can I represent the employee without salary? Yes. Now employee string name, is it valid? This dot name is equal to name system.out.println this dot name. Valid or invalid? Valid. Why it is valid? Constructor 1 is having two parameters. Constructor 2 is having one parameter. Now I am going to create like this. Employee emp3 is equal to new employee. Okay. All right. I'm writing my object here. Run this. I'm printing only Ashok. Suppose if I print salary, invalid. What is the output? Here it will print Raju and 55,000.00. Here if I print it, it will print Ramu and 45,000. Okay. Here it is going to print just Ashok and salary default value. What is the default value? 0.0. Run this program. 0.0 printing or not? How I mean, when I am creating the first object, which constructor I am calling? Observe, guys, in the line number 20 I am creating the object. When I am creating the object in the line number 20, which constructor it is calling? It is calling line number 8 constructor, because I'm creating the object with 2 parameters. That means it is calling parameterized constructor. When I create the employee 2 object, then also it is calling constructor which is having 2 parameters. Now, when I call new employee of Ashok, which constructor it is pointing? It is pointing the line number 14 constructor. Why it is pointing line number 14 constructor? It is a single parameter constructor. Can I call it is a polymorphism? Yes or no? Yes, yes. Employee object behaving in different ways. When I pass 2 parameters, it is calling 2 parameter constructor. When I call 1 parameter, it is calling 1 parameter constructor. Can I say one object exhibiting multiple behaviors based on the situation? If I pass 2 parameters, it is calling first constructor. If I pass 1 parameter, it is calling second constructor. Object is exhibiting multiple behaviors, that is called polymorphism. What is polymorphism? The object which exhibits multiple behaviors is called as polymorphism. What is inheritance? Bhul gaya. Extending the properties from one class to another class is called inheritance. What is encapsulation? Data hiding. Combining the variables and methods in the class is called encapsulation. What is abstraction? What is abstraction? Hide the unnecessary data and show only useful data. Those are called OOPS principles. Now we are eligible to start the OOPS because the basics are completed. Class is completed, object completed, variable completed, method completed, constructor completed. From Monday we are going to start OOPS concepts. Sorry? बाद में कर सकते हैं. हाँ. Where? In the object creation, invalid now. What is the first parameter? String type. So you have to pass only string value first. If you want to take salary first, name second, the order of the parameter also should be changed. What is the order of the parameter? String and salary. So here, sorry? If you want to take one more constructor with salary and employee, valid now. Valid. Because first parameter is salary and the second parameter is first parameter is salary, second parameter is name. Valid or invalid? Valid. Why? Because the order of the parameters are different. First constructor having string comma float, second constructor is having float comma string, third constructor is having just a string. In this scenario, can I write this also? What is that? Zero param constructor. So total how many constructors available in the class? First constructor, second constructor, third constructor, fourth constructor. Now I am going to create one object, employee emp4 is equal to new employee. Employee emp4 is equal to new employee. What is the output? What is the output? Is there any code available? Not default value. That constructor does not have a body. That is empty constructor. Constructor will call, but there is no logic available inside that. Am I going to get any output here? No output. Why no output? We are not writing any logic. There is no logic available. So that is a empty constructor. It is not going to print anything. It is not going to print anything. Now, so can I say that in the employee class, I have done constructor overloading? Yes. What is the meaning of constructor overloading? Writing more than one constructor with different parameters is called as constructor overloading. All right. So now, when the 30th line number executed, which constructor will execute? Which line number constructor? 12 line number. Why 12 line number? Parameters matching. String comma float. When I go for this line number 31, 12. Why 12? first name and this one. When I go for this one, 24. Why? String only one parameter is available. I am calling a constructor which is having a single parameter, that is a string. So this constructor will be called. When I execute this, it will go to 8th line number. Why it is going to call the 8th line number constructor? Zero param. Because I am creating a object without passing any parameter. Here I am calling default constructor. That is a zero param constructor. Yes, you can say that zero param default both are same, but yes, if the compiler is added, that is the default. If we write, it is a zero param. No, we can write that. We can write that. So here it is going to call which constructor? Zero param constructor. That zero param constructor is added by me or added by Java compiler. It is added by me. It is not by the compiler. For this program, compiler will add the constructor or compiler will not add the constructor. Compiler will not add. Why compiler will not add? Because we are writing our own constructor. We are writing 3 constructors or 4 constructors are there. Compiler will not add any constructor in this scenario. Got it? Yes. Okay. Constructor array. Matlab? Array of object like this. Yeah, you can take it. You can take it. Yes. Now, can I show you? One class that we have used as a buffered reader class? Can I show you now? Can you tell me how to read the input from the keyboard? First, what we need to create? Input stream reader ISR is equal to new input stream reader. Input stream reader. Now, what I need to do? Buffered reader BR is equal to new buffered reader of. What is this? Yes, we are calling parameterized constructor of the buffered reader. What parameter we are passing for buffered reader constructor? Input stream reader object we are passing. Okay, guys. Now, can you tell me what is this? String S is equal to new string of hi. What is this? Can I say that I am calling string class parameterized constructor? Yes or no? So what is this, man? I'm calling the parameter constructor of the string class. Can I do like this? String buffer SB is equal to new string buffer of S. What is that? Can I say that I am calling parameter as a constructor of the string buffer? Here I am calling parameter as a constructor of the string buffer. Here I am calling parameter as a constructor of the string. Here I am calling the parameter as a constructor of the buffered reader. So whenever you are creating the object, that means you are calling the constructor. When I explain buffered reader, did I explain what is this? No. Why? At that time we don't know. Am bacche tha. At that time we don't know what is a constructor. But today we understood what is constructor. Now we are recalling that whatever we have studied earlier. Nobody asked me when I create the string objects, or what is this? Huh? You just remember this, right? So you will tell you in the oops. Now you understand why why I was not explained, why I did not explain that concept at that time. At that time, you people cannot understand. Now, after discussing the constructor, now if I write this line of code, you are able to understand this, what is happening there. What I am doing here, I am calling parameterized constructor of the string buffer. Why I am calling parameterized constructor of the string buffer? To create the string buffer object. What is the parameter I am passing? String object I am passing. So here I am calling parameterized constructor of the buffer reader. This is used to create the buffer reader object. This is used to create the string object. This is used to create the string buffer object. So to create the object, what is required? To create the object, what is required? Constructor is required. Got it? People are confusing. If you are getting confused to give the answer, that is insult for me, because I am shouting like anything. New is a keyword which is used to create the object. Up बढ़ गया ना हम, right? Yes. Read this. After explaining this much continuously 2 hours, I'm shouting like anything. After listening to my class also, if you are giving the wrong answer, that is insult for me. Yes or no? You, Ashok IT student, should have that courage to give the correct answer at any point of time. If anybody asks any question, we are ready to answer. We should be ready to answer. That is the main intention. I told you several times, no faculty will explain the Java with this much energy. Right? Some people are already experienced. You might have seen how those faculties will teach Java. News reading. Yes or no? Constructor. Constructor is used to initialize the object. So we are going to write the constructor like this. Ek program, compile, run, output, khatam. हो गया constructor. Sorry? Reaction. Good. Ratta. Batti. Yeah. Java is an emotion for us. Java is not just a language for us. Java is the emotion for us. Yes. We should carry that emotion. Right. Just revise the concept, guys. We will wind up for today. Yeah. Just read the concepts. Online people, kya chal raha bhai? Huh? Right. Fine, guys. See here. What is a constructor? Come on. Quick. Constructor is a special method in Java which is used to initialize the current class instance variable. Constructor name should be same as class name. Constructor will not have any return type, not even void. If we write return type for the constructor, then it will become method. So this is the syntax for the constructor. Inside the constructor, you can write the logic. But basically, what logic we will write? Initializing the instance variables. Demo D is equal to new demo. What is the meaning of this? Creating the object by calling the constructor. When the constructor will be executed? During the object creation. At the time of object creation, our class constructor will be executed. Constructor is mandatory to create the object. Object creation means calling the constructor. So like this we are doing. That means we are calling the constructor. If we don't write the constructor in the class, then Java compiler will add one default constructor to our class. How can I check that compiler is adding or not adding? Java p space class name. If we write a constructor in the class, compiler will not add any constructor. Constructors are divided into how many types? 2 types. What are those? Zero param constructor and parameter constructor. Constructor without parameters is called as zero param. Constructor with parameters are called as parameterized constructor. Like this. Now class employee. Employee parameterized constructor, creating the object and calling the constructor. When the constructor is expecting the parameter, you have to pass the value. Now this keyword. What is the purpose of this keyword? This is a predefined keyword in the Java. It is used to represent current class object. Current class object. This dot name. Current class object variable. Instance variable. Name is a local variable. Salary is a local variable. Local variable value I am storing into instance variable. Right. Student class also I have taken. Instead of initializing the variables for every object separately, I am doing that initialization by using parameter constructor. Can I create 200 student objects also? How many lines of code? Just 200 lines of code is required. Earlier, for every student, 4 lines of code is required. Now for every student, 1 line of code is required. Because If I create the object with these parameters will be supplied to constructor. Constructor will initialize the values to the variables. Next one, we discussed about constructor overloading. What is constructor overloading? Writing more than one constructor with different parameters is called as constructor overloading. Class name. So class name I'm taking as a constructor name. Class name should be same as a constructor name. Constructor should not have a return type, not even void also. If I write a return type for the constructor, it will become a method. Here, now do you understand? Buffer reader constructor we are calling, string constructor we are calling, string buffer constructor we are calling. Can I see string class constructors? Can I show you string class constructors? String is having one constructor or string is having multiple constructors? How can you say? JSE API. String is available in which package? Java.lang package. Go to Java.lang package. Now, first, can I go to a class called Boolean? Yes, Boolean. Oh, what is this? Constructor. What is this? How many constructors are there in the Boolean? 2. Can I say Boolean is doing constructor overloading? Can I say Boolean is overloading the constructor? Yes. Can I go for character? Where is the class constructor? There is no parameter constructor, only single constructor is available for that. Let me check it. Static variables. No, constructors are there. Yes. Character, char value. Right. Good. Next one, go for string class. Can you see string class constructor? Oh, what is this? What is this? Zero param. What is this? Parameterized. What is this? Parameterized. What is this? Deprecated. That means not required. What is this? Parameterized. What is this? Parameterized. That means constructor overloading is there in the string class or not? Yes, string class is having constructor overloading. What is constructor overloading? Writing more than one constructor with different parameters is called as constructor overloading. That means if you want to initialize your object with different values, then you can go for constructor overloading. Sometimes for one object I want to pass only 2 values. For some object I want to pass 3 values. For some object I want to pass 10 values. Then you can write multiple constructor with different parameters. That is called constructor overloading. Good. Yes. String builder buffer. Yes, string buffer object also you can pass to string. That value will be converted to string type. No, that is immutable, but you are creating a string object with builder value. That builder value will be represented as a string that will become immutable. We can convert buffer object to string object. That means we can make buffer object also as a immutable by using this constructor. Completed? Good. Fine. Guys, next assignment will be available like this. Program मिलेगा आपको, output you have to identify. Right. This is a test I will conduct in the next week, but tomorrow no class for us. Tomorrow chutti. Right. Match bhi hai. South Africa and India. At what time? 4:30 PM. IPL चालू हुआ. T20 ना? World Cup T20. मुझे नहीं पता यार. I don't have that much time to see. ठीक है, fine. हाँ? बार याद मत दिलाओ भाई. गलती से हो गया. Right. So we have next session on Monday. Good. Thank you, sir.